inundation of the asylum seeker crisis, they're still doing their job. So these civil servants are still doing their jobs while we try to fill those backlogs, those vacancies.
What I don't understand, if you
Yes.
could fill all those jobs, would you, or would you leave some of them vacant as a budgetary concern?
Well, that's like hypothetical. The role is we are telling our commissioners, here's the vacancies that you have. Let's fill them. And let's look at those high need areas that you're having that really need people to fill. And we're getting ready to shift to do some new things that I believe is going to get more efficiency by using technology. We can run our city smarter and better. And that is part of the goal that we're going to accomplish with our chief technology officer.
Hi, Mayor. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Where you been? I haven't seen you.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
Okay.
Thank you. As far as libraries go, are you insinuating that the decision to hold them harmless in this PEC had nothing to do with the public blowback that the cuts had received? This was purely a financial decision, and the political public climate here had nothing to do with it.
Well, okay. Now, you guys, some of you have been with me since my administration started. Has there ever been a day there has not been a blowback on something? I mean, everything you do. This is a city with 8.5 million New Yorkers, 35 million opinions. New Yorkers are always going to share their thoughts. I've been a supporter of libraries since my day of the state senate. If you would speak with each one of the heads of libraries in general, but specifically in Brooklyn, they would tell you that how much of a friend I am to libraries. I know the need of them. They're a great equalizer. Their access to resources. I don't like having to find efficiencies in any of my agencies. And when I speak to my city council person, they're not only talking about cuts to the library, they talk about cuts to every entity. And we tell them the money that's coming in must meet the money that's coming out. We look to saw which areas we can hold harmless, what areas we can give back to, and what areas we have to draw the line and say, no, you have to do the cut, including New York City Police Department and Department of Correction.
You gave the budget to the city council. I'm curious what you're hearing from them, because there was such a gulf before in terms of money they thought was projected and money you think is projected. Is there any reconciliation here?
No, and we have adjusted. We're close to the same predictions and dollar amounts. What they failed to do in many of the independent budget analysis, no one wants to factor in the asylum seekers costs. And we're honest about that. We can't create budgets that's leaving certain things off the table. We're factoring that in, the asylum seekers costs. And so Jock looked at the revenues generated. We did better than we thought in certain areas. But at the same time, we had to factor in the asylum seeker costs, and we have to be honest about the fiscal forecast in the future.
First question, the $16 billion that you said in here were set aside over the life of the plan to settle the outstanding labor contracts. Does that $16 billion include the cost of the PBA contract in DC 37, or is that it does? It's not just the separate ones that are outstanding. And secondly, I know the state budget is, it's the latest that it's been in a decade, and you've said that Kathy Hochul is your friend and your partner in governing, but has this, the delay in getting you what you need, among other things, sort of shaken your confidence in her ability to lead the state in any way?
I'm not a fair weather friend. Good friends walk in the room when others walk out. Governor Hochul has been with us. When we went to her and stated we need to stabilize our subway system, she allocated $60 million to allow us to have cops be on the subway system. The results of that has been amazing. 4 million riders. We peaked one day last week. I speak to my corporate leaders. They state that, Eric, our employees are willing to come back to work. They're feeling safer. Customer satisfaction surveys are up. We are moving in the right direction in crime, and so many other things. I've gone to the governor. She said she has been there. So you can't. That's not how you treat your friends. That you negotiate. I believe that the Speaker Hasty and Majority Leader Andrew Stewart Cousin, their one House bills looked at those issues that were important to us, particularly the over $500 million in the MTA. and as well as the EF-MAP dollars. So the negotiation still is going on. Albany will do Albany, and we are cautiously optimistic that the governor and the leaders up there, as well as our delegation up there, is going to do what's right for New York City.
Joe, Mr. Mayor, how you doing?
Okay, how's it going?
Bad.
It's a nice suit and kicks, sharper than anything right now.
I was wondering, you plan to receive $600 million from the federal government next year for asylum seeker costs. I was curious if you have any information beyond the application you filed that would give you the confidence you're going to get that money.
The $800 million that Senator Schumer and Congressman Jeffries was able to secure through FEMA is going to come in several layers. The first layer is $300 million. We put in our application for the dollars. We're waiting for how they're going to officially roll it out. We don't know yet. So we're remaining optimistic that the reality is that no other entity in the country is receiving the level of asylum seekers that we are receiving. In fact, they've become a pass-through. They're leaving other cities, coming across the border, leaving other cities, but ending up in New York. And so we're hoping that FEMA does a real analysis and say, we need to put the money where the need is. And right now the need is New York City.
If I could quickly follow up, I was just curious, you talked about a lot of the sort of hits to the budget, the costs, asylum seeker costs. Are you disappointed you don't have that money to spend on initiatives you want to do? And if you did have more money, what would you want?
Yes. You do an analysis of what we inherited. Go back. I know, sometimes you do a job so well that everyone has just amnesia. I don't know if y'all remember what the city was January 1st, 2022. There was uncertainty. We wanted to keep our schools open. People were yelling, close the schools, close the schools. We gave parents discipline and focus and clarity. That's the trademark of this administration. Discipline, focus, and clarity. Parents knew your children are going to be in school. We did it. We cycled out of the economic downturn that we were experiencing. Out of nowhere, we got hit with the asylum seekers issue. You don't see children sleeping on streets like you see in other municipalities. We have the best service to those who are coming to the city than anyone. We saw encampments all over the subway system. We all saw them. They're no longer there. We saw encampments all over our streets. And people pushed back when I said people deserve better decency. And so if I had $4.3 billion, I'm able to do some great things for the city. But in spite of that, this team managed a very difficult moment in New York City's history. And, if we had the money, if we didn't have this hanging over our heads, we'd be able to do so much more. There's a lot of things we want to do that we can't do because of that. And we need to be clear. If Title 42 is lifted, and we see a double or tripling of the number, we have to go back to the drawing board. New Yorkers must understand that we are in the middle of a humanitarian crisis, probably never has been viewed again in the city.
Mayor, some immigration advocates have raised concerns over some of the language you've used to talk about how the asylum seeker influx is affecting the city.
That's not, sorry.
No, let finish. You said the budget. Go ahead.
Yeah, you talked about it a lot in your.
See, I always defend you.
You're my guy. And you talked about this a lot in your budget presentation about the effect, the money. And I'm wondering, you were in DC last week. You talked about asylum seekers sort of destroying the city. People took offense to that language. I'm wondering, how do you respond to that? Your use of that language and talking about the effect of the asylum seekers that are having on the city financially.
Two things. One, I was in Washington, D.C. saying, allow the asylum seekers to work. The issue is not the asylum seekers. The issue is the fact that the national government is not doing its job. And so if people want to play word police and don't know my heart by now and what I have done better than any other municipality, then let them do that. But I don't see any of them in Washington. Why aren't they in Washington? Why aren't they speaking in Washington, D.C., saying, give this administration and this city help? So it's easy to sit on the sideline and throw a stone. A rock is not a plan. I need all these people who believe we're not doing a good job. Join me on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. when I'm giving out food to asylum seekers. Join Norman Siegel when he's moving around the city recruiting to get people to volunteer. All of this, tweeting and calling us names from their mommy and daddy basement of how bad we are. Listen, stop. Come. This is an all hands on deck moment. So all those who have better ideas, come and join this team. There's a lot of help that's needed. And then if you want to pick apart the emotion of watching my city being destroyed, if I'm too emotional in doing that, well, maybe because I love the city too darn much.
Mayor, just briefly, you just said, you alluded to some electronic or I guess efficiencies, technological advances that could, you said, create more efficiencies. Do you want to give a little bit more details? Would that replace jobs? And what agencies do you see that being to create more efficiency?
Okay, first of all, I didn't say replace jobs. That was your term. You want to
I
say?
know that was after.
Okay, no. There are things we're doing like call centers. Call centers could be utilized better with technology. When I call my bank doesn't have a call center. Everyone that calls, I don't get a human that picks up, but I'm able to get my question answered. And so we are scanning the globe on efficient ways to run cities, procurement. How do you use everything from our dogs to go in to check buildings collapse? How do you use drones? We're going to be looking at how to use bots. We're going to hold a major summits on bots, BOTs. So we are not going to leave our city while other municipalities are becoming innovative. We have a unit that specifically is assigned to emerging markets and innovation. That's all they do. They don't get caught up in the day-to-day crises. They are scanning and interviewing on new technology so that we can run our city more efficient. Our city should be leading the way, and we're not. We're following everyone else, and I'm not going to do that as the mayor. The mayor, we're going to lead in technology and running a more efficient city. We're not going to be afraid. We're swinging for the fence. And so what if we strike out? We're not going to go home and say we wish we would have.
Mr. Mayor, you're talking a lot about.
Bernadette.
You're talking a lot about cost control, but why within the last 3 months did spending go up by $3 billion? You're the one who's negotiating union contracts. You can find efficiencies with the pegs. Some of these agencies missed the pegs, and were they penalized? Why didn't they get under control? Why did spending go up within FY23?
First of all, no one missed the peg. Everyone responded to the peg.
Some of
OMB made a determination. We've stated from the beginning, everyone will participate in the peg, everyone. And then we made the determination that, okay, based on our analysis, this is what we're going to hold harmless for it, and this is who we're going to give some back to. But every agency participated in the peg. We got on a call with all of our commissioners, and I stated I don't want anyone telling me that we're not. Everyone is going to participate. So I want to get clear on that. And when you look at the contracts, PBA went years without a contract. DC 37 employees have been underpaid. I mean, let's be honest about this. They've been underpaid. And I was not going to be a blue collar mayor, former DC 37. My mama was a DC 37 worker, knowing how difficult it is. We want to put them on the front line, but we don't want to pay them accordingly to retain them. That's why we're losing people. And so this is an investment into our workforce, an investment into our people. Because when you pay your people well, they go spend money in the communities. They're able to do their job without the stress of knowing that they can't afford what they're doing. So this was a smart decision to pay people accordingly.
Even though costs went up.
What costs went up? Asylum seekers, respecting our union contracts, and also other services that our agencies are providing.
Hi, Mr. Mayor.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Question for you. The state budget remains unresolved as we speak right now. You talked a lot about it in your presentation. How's that impacted your administration's ability to to provide a balanced budget. And looking forward, if the state doesn't provide the funding to your level of expectation, would you look at other efficiencies, other things?
Well, Sheena played such a role in building out, which side the shoes on building out our team. And she looked through leading my transition team. One of the most important person we brought on board was Jock. He has helped us to lay out this budget, and he has pointed out that here's how we could adjust it just in case we get some surprises from Albany. We don't get everything that we need. Then we have to go back, and our budget mod is going to have to reflect that. But we're going to be cautiously optimistic. He and his team, they're looking at all of these numbers, and they're making sure that we are making the right decision for this time. But as you stated, we don't know what's going to come out of Albany. I have good conversations with the leaders up there and the members who are fighting on our behalf, and we're looking forward. When we look at the one house bills that came out of Albany, it's clear that they understand we can't dump everything on New York.
Mr. Mayor, for the agencies that were held harmless and we were giving some back, how did you exactly determine which ones would be included in that?
We looked at the service. Remember, we said the PEG cannot decrease, take away services or do layoffs. And we didn't just have people say, well, everything we do is going to decrease services. No, we did an analysis. And to the credit of the commissioners, when Camille brought them all together and spoke down with the commissioners and directors and everyone, they all know where we are. They all see what's happening. No one came forth to say, no, I'm not going to participate. No, those commissioners and their teams, their leadership, they know the challenges. We have been very transparent with our team and have communicated with them. They understood. We did one call with all the commissioners. Jock did a presentation and said, this is where we are. And they all stood up and did the right thing. And so everyone participated in the PEG. Then we did an analysis. Where can we pull back on? Culture, libraries, what we want to do in FDNY, what we want to do with our parks. We didn't, our human services. So that's how we made the determination based on Jock's analysis and his team.
Hi, Mr. Mayor.
How are you?
Good. I wanted to go back to libraries.
Yes.
So the libraries say they still have a $36 million hole.
Mm-hmm.
And if it turns out that they have to reduce some service on weekends, Saturday and Sundays, are you willing to live with that, or would you be willing to step in with a budget modification that allows them to keep Saturday and, more importantly, Sunday hours?
The entire, every agency can give you an analysis of how the PEGs will impact some of the things that we want to do. Every agency. You're not going to be able to tell me one agency that's not going to say, this is something I would like to do. And if we get the help we need, we can go back and say, okay, you can do some of the things you'd like to do. But we are at a Maslow hierarchy of needs moment: food, shelter, clothing. That's where we are. And everyone that's saying just spend, we would love to. We must ensure the continuation of the economic stability of the city. And I would love for my libraries to have all the things that they want. We held them harmless under this PEG. We don't know what the future is going to hold, but I'm a believer and supporter in libraries. And I just want to point out one more thing, and I always drive my team crazy when I go off record, but I've been, this has been on my mind for some time. You got that, Katie? This has been on my mind for some time because I hear a lot of people. I was talking to some city council members the other day, and they were talking to me about NYPD's overtime. NYPD's overtime. And so I said, is it that you dislike overtime or you dislike the NYPD? Because I never hear them talk about overtime in any other agencies. We have overtime in all the agencies. I have overtime, but no one gets riled up with overtime in parks, overtime in HRA. No one gets riled up in overtime anywhere else but the New York City Police Department. Now, if I were to go to you and say, give me the number to H&H, you'll scratch your head. If I said, give me the numbers to HRA, give me the number to parks, you scratch your head. But all of you know the number to the police. You all know 911. So the agency that starts its day of saying, I may not come home tonight. The only agency in this city that if gunshots go off, they're required to go respond towards it and not run away from it. The only agency that if there's a bomb placed somewhere, they have to go and detonate it. The only agency that no matter what happens can never turn its back. We all focus on them. That's all we focus on, NYPD. So is it anti-overtime or is it anti-police? And if it's anti-police, shame on us. Shame on us. 60 and the 60. No. This is a conversation that we need to have in this city. These men and women put their lives on the line. Rivera and Mora is not coming home anymore. They place their lives on the line. And so if we want an analysis about overtime, which the bulk of that 60 million came from the state to help us stabilize our subway system, which is part of our financial stability. If we want to analyze overtime, then let's not just talk about police. I think the anti-police rhetoric has displaced and used this excuse of overtime. And I'm not going to sit back and say to men and women who place their lives on the line every day that we're not going to give them the service and support they need. So the real question is it anti-overtime or is it anti-police? I'm not anti-police.
What is the budget for overtime?
Mr. Mayor, rumor has it that you've appointed Jimmy Otto to be the buildings commissioner. Could you talk about that and why you picked him?
I got some sources work inside the administration. Listen, you know the rule. When we appoint, we announce, and we have not appointed yet, so we don't have an announcement to make. When we appoint, we announce.
Are you denying you're going to name him?
I'm acknowledging that I love Jimmy. I think he's a smart council person. He's a smart administrator, and I'm happy to have him as part of my administration. I'm sure Deputy Mayor Mira Joshi would say what a winner he is. But once we make the an announcement of who's going to fill a position, we have a number of positions that we're going to be filling. We get ready to roll out our Deputy Mayor of Strategic Initiatives soon. So when we appoint, we announce. We're excited about these appointments.
Mr. Mayor, it's been reported recently that young adults, teenagers who had been sleeping at drop-in centers for the homeless and runaways since about 5 years ago, that the city changed the policy and no longer allowed to sleep there. And I'm wondering why that shift in policy, and do you approve that shift in policy, especially since there are only about 45 beds available for young adults in the city, and most people believe it's better to have them in the drop-in centers as opposed to sleeping out on the street.
I'm a little baffled, because I recall standing at this podium when the advocates said that why you let people sleep in, drop-in centers, so are we saying children and families should not sleep in drop-in centers, but children without their parents should sleep in drop-in centers? That's not making sense to me. The rule is by the state, and my corp counsel make me follow the law, that is not a place that is a shelter. Now, if the advocates are now saying it's okay for children to sleep in drop-in centers as long as they don't have their parents with them, then they need to say that, because I'm not going to follow that. The law is clear. Here's what a shelter is. Here's what a drop-in center is. I'm going to follow the law. And I know you're not telling me to break the law.
Mr. Mayor, back to the Albany budget situation. On the MTA specifically, it sounds like negotiations are working out to New York City businesses would have to pay a higher payroll tax, but suburban businesses would not. I'm curious if you think that's fair, if that impacts New York City competitiveness in any way. Do you think the suburbs should pay their fair share here?
We don't know what the outcome is going to be with the MTA, but I don't believe New York should ever be treated differently. And I believe at the first version of the budget, there were various areas where New York was treated differently. New York City is the economic engine of the state, and we should be treated with the level of respect that comes with being the economic engine. We don't know what the final outcome is. We know it was unsustainable to have us pay $500 million, over $500 million a year.
Hi, yes, Mr. Mayor, question for you. President Biden announced his reelection bid. You're a surrogate for him. There is some concern over his age. I'm wondering what's your reaction?
I don't know who said it. I was running for office. I think it would be disrespectful for Biden to talk about the limited age that DeSantis has. I think his age and experience is the right thing we need right now, and he has not done that. So I'm happy the mayor is not. The government, the president has not attempted to use all of the experience and wisdom to look down on the fact that DeSantis doesn't bring that same level of experience. His age is excellent. We need the wisdom, we need the skill set, we need the experience. You know, this president has navigated us out of these difficult times. And for anyone to say to an octogenarian or someone who's a senior that you need to pack it in because you're not fit the criteria that people think based on age, that makes no sense. Listen, people are able to do their jobs, and he's able to do his job. And I'm happy that he's deciding to run for re-election.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Going to the next game?
Huh?
Gonna go to the next game?
I'm